Hey folks, this is Chris at Art Secret Studio, and we're all answering our questions from the online classes on our website. And one of them is, are there different ways to sharpen the pencil, and how do I do it, and why would I do it? And therefore, let's go over it right here. When the pencil point gets too short, then it's a little too blunt, and you can't really operate it to its fullest amount. So what I like to do is I'll take this, I'll take a one-sided razor blade. I'm going to push in and turn. So I don't want to press too hard. I'm just going to take away a little bit of the wood and rotate. And I'm just going to nibble away at it a little at a time. And I'm just trying to remove the wood. So I'm actually changing the direction. I'm pushing down and then I'm turning it so I don't touch any of the wood. I'd rather come back, rotate around it, come back, rotate around. And a lot of artists will do it with a very long point. But to expedite this, I'm not. Now I'm going to take the eraser and hold it like this. So I was pushing with my thumb and turning. Now I'm holding it this way, and I'm just going to hang it at an angle, and it's probably like at a 22-degree angle. I feel like I'm sharpening my wife's cooking knives. And then I'm just going to go back and forth, and I'm going to gradually rotate, and you're just scraping. If it sticks, you've got too much charcoal, and you run the risk of breaking the charcoal. And yeah, and I would probably have gone a lot longer with the wood, but to expedite this, I shortened the time. And that's how I make a point. You can make it as sharp as you want. Now, there is another way to sharpen a pencil. And this Dahle, is it a 155? Yes, Dahle 155. You pull it out, you put it in the holder, and you turn. Trying not to shake the table too much. This is my painting table. It's not meant for demos. And that's it. It's done. And it never messes up. Now, so what's the difference? Why wouldn't I just use this? It did such a special job. This is more for detail, and this is for attitude. So when I have an attitude and I want to have more carefree stuff, this is what I'm using. This is for finishing touches, and I can pull out the Indian to do that as well. Okay, so when I'm looking at this little girl and I'm saying, you know, let's make some lines here, and I'm just going to draw in here and go a little faster with my line. Now, compressed charcoal doesn't smear. So when I do make a line like this, and I'm kind of drawing and this, I almost have to realize that line's permanent. What do I mean by it doesn't smear? If I grab a piece of charcoal, and I can make a point with this too, and I'll make a video on that. If I make a line and then pull, I can take my finger, and you see how I can vary the line weight with the willow or vine charcoal. So graphite, so this compressed charcoal is really kind of insensitive. It's just, you know, it's just one way that you're making a mark with it. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. That's a 2H. You know, it's right up against her. It's refining it. It's nitpicking. And then sometimes I would then take the willow charcoal or vine and go right up against that. And I use that to make my sharper edges. And I fill in around it. So I don't have this straggly line. It does a little better job sometimes. So how to sharpen a pencil, when I would do it. Another thing I could do with the finer one is, you know, if you feel like you just want to lightly darken this. Now this is a 2H pencil. It's an extra hard, so it's not going to go very dark. And I just find that I don't like using the 2H. If I need it to be softer, I'm using an F or a 3B pencil with by Staedtler Mars. Faber-Castell. And I think it does, I'm using the Faber-Castell, and I think it does a better job than the harder 2H and extra hard charcoal. So the only charcoal that I use in this pencil is in a 4B, and it's only for eyes, inside the mouth, little tiny things. Keep in mind, it's not erasing. But the 2 ways to sharpen makes it pretty neat. There is a third way, and let me grab that. And that is, I love taking 120 or 150 grit sandpaper from the hobby store, and I'll even use it for my willow and vine charcoal, and I don't go back and forth. That tends to break the charcoal. I just kind of rotate as I turn. And it'll make quite a point. I think this should be a separate video. Let me make the intro. Hey folks, this is Chris at Art Secret Studio, and I want to go over why I sharpen willow and vine charcoal and what I love using with it. I love using 150 grit sandpaper from the hobby store. It is absolutely my favorite. You get 3 sheets for nothing. It's better than buying the pre-made sandpaper from the art stores that's very expensive. Just take your charcoal and rotate it as you turn. Now only pull. If you go back and forth, you're going to break your charcoal. So you just keep pulling and you make a point. And why is that so important? Why would I spend the trouble? Because the truth is, if I need to make a point and I'm doing little detail work, I'm just taking this charcoal and I'm sticking it in the Dahle 155 and I'm sharpening it, and it's going to do a fantastic job. And I'm all done, and once it stops, then it says you're as sharp as can be, and this will never be that. Well, yeah, they have different points. No pun intended. They have different purposes. So let me show you this kind of purpose. So as I go in here, you know, maybe in her drapery, there's I want a soft line, and I'm using the point. And then I'm going to use the point, and then I'm going to change the angle of the charcoal. So I'm going to come around with the point. Now I'm using the angle, and now I'm using the thickness of the charcoal. So I get to change the thickness of my mark that varies and kind of shows the action of this little munchkin. So you're making a line, you're showing the fatness, you're turning it, you're going wide, you're narrow. There's a movement and a breadth to your marks. And I think that's just so cool, where I always have a point on the willow or vine charcoal, always. And it's because I'm changing the angle and the thickness, and the charcoal does that job. Sometimes I use holders, and they have them all different types, all different styles. The nitrum, actually, one thing about the nitrum that's nice is you can put different colors in it, orange, blue, red, green, for hardnesses. So you have a lighter and a darker hardness. So what's the advantage of the nitrum over the others? Only that. You could actually put tape and put the $2 holder that the art store sells for this charcoal. Not every charcoal fits in this baton, so you have to watch it. But what does the baton do, and why does the handle work? Well, it lets me feel like an artist. You know, I'm making bigger marks. You know, it's kind of fun. You're taking away, you're putting it on it, and you know, you're just having fun with the mark. Because the bigger the stick, the freer you are with this kind of stuff going on. So I don't know if that makes sense, but these are some of the tools that I use, and it helps me choose the oil paint. So what's this about? Why is this important? This tells me what kind of brush I'm going to paint with. It even tells me the size. It tells me whether I'm using oleo gel, impasto medium, Velasquez medium, if I'm using Galkid and Stand Oil, or just Stand Oil, as I dip in the brush into the medium, every brush makes a different mark. So the gestural drawings in charcoal or graphite help tell my story. They get me in the frame of saying, yeah, I need some strokes here, I'll do this. I already know what I like and don't like of the marks I made. So, different sharpeners, hope you liked it.